some Muslims enter hell after having their deeds rejected. Why?
You just answered it. She said after having their deeds. And let me say, good deeds rejected. Could good deeds be rejected? Yes, of course. We studied in the program of correct recitation the last few verses of Surah Al-Kahf, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أولئك الذين حبطت أعمالهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. In the previous one, Allah the Almighty is inquiring, is asking, قل هل ننبئكم بالأخسرين أعمالا? Shall we inform you about the greatest losers? Those whose good deeds have been wasted in vain because they were not done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah the Almighty is the richest of all. If anyone does anything in order to please Allah and meanwhile to please any other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, along with Allah, the whole deed will be rejected. The lengthy hadith of the first 3 people will be admitted to the fire of hell are a scholar, a religious scholar, a mujahid, a shaheed, and a charitable person, because whatever they have done, they claim that they were doing this sincerely for Allah. Allah would make them admit that He is the one who granted them the knowledge, the strength, and the wealth. What did you do with it? How did you utilize my blessings upon you? So each one of them will claim, I spent wealth for your sake. The second, I fought for your sake and I got martyred for your sake. And the third will say that I taught people the Quran for your sake. Allah will confront them that you lied. You only did that in order to be stayed either generous or a scholar, beautiful recitation, or he's a shaheed, he's courageous. And it was said. So if any deed was done, not for the sake of Allah, or either for the sake of Allah, but joining others with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to please, the whole deed will be rejected and it will count as it did not take place. So when we come and weigh their good deeds and bad deeds, they don't have good deeds because it was done, their good deeds were done for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and accordingly they deserve to enter fire as a result of that. There is another thing. It is true that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, that we shall enter heaven as a result or compensation or a reward of what we used to do. But it doesn't mean that we simply enter heaven because of our good deeds. No, because if we bow down and prostrate ourselves our entire life without eating, without drinking until we die in worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for that, that's not enough to give thanks for one gift that Allah bestowed upon us. And Allah the Almighty says in Surah Ibrahim that وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَظَلُومٌ كَفَّارٌ. If you try to count Allah's blessings and favors upon you, never will you be able to count them. So we meet the ni'am with the wrongdoings, with being ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, none shall enter heaven simply because of his good deeds. They said, even you, Ya Rasulullah. He said, even me, unless if Allah covers me with His mercy. So we do whatever we do and we say, oh Allah, just accept it. Because He said, إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. How do you know that your deed have been accepted? Surah Al-Mu'minun, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ. At that Al-Mu'mineen Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha inquired, she said, Ya Rasulullah, is it those who do good deeds but sometimes they steal, they drink, they commit adultery? He said, no. It refers to the good doers. They do whatever they do of good deeds and they're afraid that their righteous deeds might not be accepted. يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ. They gave whatever they gave, they perform whatever they perform, while their hearts are shivering of fear, they're afraid. How do you know that your deeds have been accepted? So there are 2 things to keep in mind. Number 1, absolute sincerity in order to have your deeds accepted. Second, whenever you do it and you hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it from you. The attitude of our predecessors with Ramadan, for instance, after completing fasting the 30 days and praying at night and so on, 6 months later, 6 months after Ramadan, they will continue to beg Allah and ask Him to accept their worship in Ramadan, the fasting and the prayer and so on. So It is not the deed itself, rather whether it was accepted or not, and that too is by Allah's mercy.
May Allah accept all of our deeds, Shaykh, inshallah.